Hello, PEI. Today we're taking a deep dive, into the heart of Prince Edward Island, and a structure that quite literally bridges the gap between the island and the mainland, the Confederation Bridge.
Oh,
You know, that impressive 12.9-kilometer stretch soaring over the Northumberland Strait. It's not just a way to get to PEI, it's an iconic landmark and a symbol of the island's connection to the rest of Canada.
yeah. And what's fascinating about the Confederation Bridge is that its story isn't just about, nuts and bolts and engineering. It's interwoven with the very history and identity of Prince Edward Island.
Right. It's like this massive concrete and steel thread woven into the fabric of PEI.
Mm.
Okay, so we know it connects PEI to New Brunswick and carries the Trans-Canada Highway, but where do we even begin with its history?
Well, we need to rewind all the way back to 1873 when PEI joined Canada. Part of the agreement, and we're talking the constitutional obligation here, was for the federal government to ensure a year-round connection to the mainland. Initially, this was through steamships, which, as you can imagine, weren't the most reliable, especially during those harsh winter months.
And then there were those ice boats they used before ferries became the norm. Can you imagine relying on those to get across the strait? Talk about a wild ride.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? And even once ferries were established in the early 1900s, maintaining consistent service through the winter was a constant battle against the elements. This led to some rather ambitious, even outlandish early proposals for a fixed link.
A tunnel on the ocean floor in the 1870s. Talk about a pipe dream.
Right.
And then there was the idea of a rock-fill causeway in the 1950s. It seems like they were really determined to connect PEI to the mainland no matter what.
Yeah, those early proposals really highlight the drive to overcome the geographical isolation of the island. But they also reveal the tremendous engineering and navigational challenges involved. The Northumberland Strait, with its complex tides and unpredictable weather, is not an easy place to build. For example, closing the Abigoit Passage, the strait between PEI and New Brunswick, could create currents exceeding 18 knots, strong enough to move boulders the size of houses.
Wow. So how did they finally decide to go with the bridge?
Well, it wasn't a simple decision. In 1988, islanders held a plebiscite, a vote by the electorate on a question of public policy, to decide the fate of a fixed link. The debate leading up to the vote was intense, with strong opinions on both sides.
It sounds like there were some serious pros and cons to consider.
Exactly. You had the Friends of the Island, who were concerned about the potential ecological impacts of construction and the potential loss of the island's unique identity. They feared the bridge would turn PEI into just another extension of the mainland.
And on the other side of the debate,
You had Islanders for a Better Tomorrow, who saw a fixed link as a vital step towards economic growth. They believed a bridge would provide a reliable transportation route, boosting tourism and opening up new opportunities for exports.
it sounds like the plebiscite really got to the heart of what it means to be connected, both physically and culturally, was the outcome of the vote.
The results were pretty close, but in the end, 59.4% voted in favor of the fixed link.
So the bridge was a go. But I imagine the journey didn't end there.
You're absolutely right. The debate didn't simply vanish after the vote. There were legal challenges to overcome, years of environmental assessments, and even the question of how to finance such a massive project. Building this bridge was no easy feat.
Speaking of challenges, the Northumberland Strait isn't exactly known for its calm waters and sunny skies. How did they even begin to construct a bridge in such a harsh environment?
They had to get creative, that's for sure. Construction began in 1993, and they used incredibly durable materials like reinforced concrete and steel. They even incorporated these special ice-deflecting cones around the bridge pillars to protect against the onslaught of ice flows during the winter.
I read that they actually built most of the major bridge components on land and then lifted them into place with a gigantic crane called the Svanen. It was the tallest structure on PEI during the entire construction process.
That's right. It was an incredible feat of engineering and a testament to the ingenuity of the project. The Svanen was brought all the way from Denmark, and it played a key role in assembling this massive jigsaw puzzle of a bridge.
So this giant crane was lifting huge pieces of the bridge into place, battling ice and wind. It sounds almost cinematic.
It really was an incredible sight to behold. The scale of the project was just mind-boggling. And it wasn't just about the engineering marvels. The construction process also had a significant impact on the local economy. It created a surge in employment and boosted PEI's GDP during those years.
It's amazing how this bridge, even before it was finished, was already shaping the landscape of PEI, both literally and figuratively. But before we move on to its impact, I have to ask, Did the name Confederation Bridge just come naturally, or was there some debate there too?
You guessed it, there was quite a bit of back and forth about what to call the bridge. A big white crossing, the traditional Micmac name for Prince Edward Island, was one of the popular suggestions. There was also a span of green gables, which definitely has a charming ring to it, but ultimately Confederation Bridge won out.
It's interesting how a name can carry so much weight. It reflects history, culture, and sometimes even sparks controversy. But I'm curious, what about the impact of the bridge itself? How did it change things for PEI once it was finally completed?
Well, the most immediate and noticeable impact was on tourism. Once the bridge opened, it became so much easier for people to visit the island. The number of visitors skyrocketed, eager to experience the novelty of driving across this incredible structure and exploring PEI without the hassle of ferries.
It makes you think about those concerns raised by the Friends of the Island. Did this influx of tourists end up overwhelming the island's culture and environment like they feared?
It's a valid question. The initial tourism boom did raise concerns about overdevelopment and the potential strain on the island's resources. But over time, things have leveled off, and PEI has adapted to this new era of accessibility.
So the bridge brought a surge in tourism, but it also sparked a conversation about finding a balance between economic growth and preserving the island's unique character.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act that many island communities around the world face. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the financial side of things. The bridge wasn't exactly cheap to build.
Right, and I know there's a somewhat unique financing model in place. It was built and is currently operated by a private consortium, but ownership will eventually transfer to the government.
That's correct. Strait Crossing Development, Inc. The private consortium financed the construction and operates the bridge. They receive an annual subsidy from the Canadian government, essentially the amount that used to be spent on the ferry service. Think of it as a long-term payment plan. Then, in 2032, ownership of the bridge will be transferred to the Canadian government.
So essentially, taxpayers are footing the bill for the bridge through this annual subsidy. And there are tolls to cross the bridge, correct?
Yes, but only when leaving the island. The toll revenue goes towards operating and maintaining the bridge, and eventually paying off the construction costs.
I've heard there's been quite a bit of debate surrounding those tolls, especially for PEI residents who frequently travel to the mainland.
Absolutely. Many islanders feel the tolls create a financial burden, especially for those who need to travel back and forth for work, medical appointments, or family visits. There's been ongoing discussion about reducing tolls for residents, or offering some sort of tax credit to offset the costs.
It sounds like there's no easy answer. The bridge needs to be financially sustainable. But there's also the concern about fairness and affordability for the people who rely on it most.
It's a complex issue with no simple solutions. The Confederation Bridge, while a remarkable feat of engineering, also brings to light the challenges of connecting a geographically isolated community.
It's fascinating how this bridge, designed to connect, also reveals the intricacies of that connection, the economic realities, the social implications, and the ongoing dialogue about what it means for the future of PEI.
Speaking of the future, let's talk about the environmental impact of the bridge. Has its presence had any negative effects on the Northumberland Straits ecosystem?
That's a good question. I know there were concerns about potential disruption to marine life during the construction phase. Has there been any evidence to support those concerns?
There have been ongoing studies monitoring the bridge's impact on the surrounding environment. Some research suggests that the construction may have caused some initial disruption to certain species, but there's also evidence that the bridge's pillars have created artificial reefs, attracting new marine life and potentially even benefiting some species.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag with both potential benefits and drawbacks. What about the bridge itself? How is it holding up structurally after all these years? I remember reading that it was designed to last over a century, but it's already been over 25 years since it opened.
The Confederation Bridge is a robust structure. It undergoes regular maintenance and inspections to ensure its longevity. Engineers designed it to withstand the harsh conditions of the Northumberland Strait. And so far, it's proven to be incredibly durable. It's built to last a lifetime.
It's amazing to think about the scale of this project, the vision, the engineering, and the sheer determination it took to build something like this. The Confederation Bridge is clearly more than just a way to get from point A to point B.
It's a testament to human ingenuity, but it also serves as a reminder of the complexities of progress and the importance of considering the long-term consequences of large-scale infrastructure projects.
Before we wrap up, I have to share a fun fact I stumbled upon. Did you know that those massive crawler transports they used to move bridge sections during construction were nicknamed lobsters by the workers because of their shape?
That's a new one for me. It seems like there's always something new to discover about the Confederation Bridge, even for those of us who thought we knew its story inside and out. And speaking of discoveries, for our listener out there who's dreaming of making PEI their home, remember that on the island side of the bridge, Mike Montague of Remax Charlottetown is ready to help you turn your PEI home buying dream into a reality.
That's right. Whether you're captivated by the bridge's story or simply drawn to the charm of PEI, Mike Montague can help you cross that bridge into island living. After this deep dive, what stands out to you about the Confederation Bridge?
For me, it's the ongoing discussion about the tolls and how it reflects the complexities of these infrastructure projects. It makes you think you know. Is there a way to balance the need for connectivity with the concerns of the local community, especially when it comes to, costs and accessibility?
That's a great point. It's not just about the physical bridge, but also the metaphorical bridges we have to build to ensure that progress benefits everyone.
Exactly. And it makes me think about all the what-ifs of the bridge's history. What if they had gone with that early tunnel idea? How would that have impacted PEI's development? And what about the name? Would Abogweit Crossing have fostered a different sense of connection? A stronger recognition of the island's Mi'kmaq heritage?
It's fascinating to consider those alternative paths and how they might have shaped the island's identity and its relationship with the mainland.
Yeah, it reminds us that even seemingly straightforward engineering projects are deeply intertwined with social, political, and cultural forces. The Confederation Bridge is a powerful symbol of that interconnectedness.
This deep dive has definitely given me a new appreciation for the Confederation Bridge. It's not just a marvel of engineering, it's a story about connection, community, and the ongoing evolution of a place.
It's a story that continues to unfold, and I'm curious to see what the next chapter holds for this iconic landmark and the island it connects.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Confederation Bridge. We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have. And if you're ever in PEI, be sure to take a drive across this incredible structure and experience its magic for yourself. Until next time, keep exploring.